Today was on tribunals. I would start by having a little look at the context within which employment tribunals are operating at the moment. Just give you some sort of indication of where we come from, where we are at the moment, and where I think we may be going next. So, you will all, I think, have seen over the past few months graphs that look something like this. Employment tribunal statistics can be taken in all kinds of different ways. It depends whether you count multiple claims, single claims, and have all kinds of arguments with people about what employment tribunal statistics actually mean. But time and time again, I keep going back to this. This is the number of unfair dismissal claims that have been received by the tribunals over the past couple of years. The reason why I look at unfair dismissal claims is they are very much the traditional bread and butter of the tribunal world. They're not affected by the ups and downs of multiple or collective claims in the same way as things like redundancy payments or equal pay claims are. What we can see here is we have a fairly static pattern through the first half of 2013, then an enormous spike around about June, July 2013. And that was when employment tribunal fees came in. So no great surprise that there was a peak at that point because everybody was trying to get their claims in before fees started to take effect, before you had to pay to bring your claim. And that also, I think, accounts for the dip that we've got immediately after then in August and September. As we know, in most cases, you've got 3 months to bring a claim. So anybody who thought they had a claim would have brought it in June when there was no fee, rather than waiting through to August and September when they knew they would have to pay a fee. Since then, the major development we've had is the introduction of ACAS early conciliation, which happened back here. This was where ACAS early conciliation came in. And of course, one of the difficulties we've got now with these statistics is trying to untangle what is down to the introduction of fees and what is down to ACAS early conciliation. Again, just taking this as a fairly crude measure, seems to me pretty obvious that the major collapse in claims came with the introduction of fees. There might have been a slight reduction when ACAS early conciliation came in, but certainly that is absolutely nothing compared with the enormous reduction of claims that happened when fees came in. That's just looking back at what has happened, but we can now look at where we are at today. The chart that you've got there is based on the latest ACAS figures for early conciliation, which came out last week. For the first time, ACAS have really been able to trace through what happens to the many notifications that they get under the early conciliation system. And this reflects the position as it was in the first 6 months of the operation of early conciliation. ACAS early conciliation is getting roughly the same number of notifications as there were back in the days when lots of employment tribunal claims were being brought. So the rate of notifications to ACAS is about the same as the number of employment tribunal claims that used to be brought. And we can see from this figure that the red part of the pie chart is what is settled by ACAS through early conciliation, resolved in what's called a COT 3, that's the formal ACAS resolution form that you will have come across before. And we've got probably about 15% of claims are resolved through early conciliation. Then the green part of the pie chart are the number of claims that are not resolved but go on to an employment tribunal claim being launched. About perhaps 20% of claims that go through early conciliation end up with an employment tribunal claim being launched. But we've got this enormous grey area. In fact, on the exact statistics, it's about 60% of claims. ACAS simply don't know what happens. There has been an ACAS early conciliation notification, but it hasn't been formally resolved by ACAS, and it hasn't resulted in a tribunal claim. ACAS at the moment have said they're going to be doing some more work to try and find out what is happening to those disputes. It's certainly possible that some of them are being resolved informally within the workplace, that the managers and the employee are talking to each other, and that they are coming to a deal that isn't being formally recorded by ACAS. But there is this mystery gap. What is happening with those 60% of disputes that are sufficiently important for the employee to raise them through early conciliation, but which don't either get resolved or later go on to a tribunal? And one of the things I think we can be sure about is that the introduction of employment tribunal fees and the subsequent reduction in the number of employment tribunal claims hasn't been because magically all employees are getting happier, or because there really are no longer any workplace disputes. I would say that it's been the experience of all of us that actually workplace disputes continue in pretty much the same manner throughout, regardless of what happens with employment tribunal fees. So there is this issue of what is happening to these 60% of things that people think are serious enough to raise with ACAS, but that then don't either get formally resolved or go on to tribunal. Because it appears that there are a lot of serious workplace issues that simply have no resolution at the moment. And that is no good for either employers or for employees.